Thank you, everybody. Well, again, I'll just hand it over to Tiger and let him start in. We're really happy to have you here, Tiger. We're very honored, and you've been a huge inspiration for a lot of people in Second Life. And hearing your side of what you think makes a successful business, your opinion on creativity and whatnot is very much appreciated and respected. Thank you very much for coming to the Builders Brewery.
Well, thank you for having me. Like I told you earlier, I've been here quite a few times, but usually I'm on the other side, like taking a class or something and listening to somebody else speak. And so this is a first for me to be here and speaking about topics to share my advice or insights with other people. So I assumed today was going to be primarily like a question and answer thing, and people can ask questions, type them out there, and I can try to answer them, or I can start off with kind of a little history of myself and my journey in Second Life and that sort of thing. I started, oh gosh, I don't even remember my own res date. I kind of poked my head in Second Life ever since beta, and I've always been interested in MUDs and virtual worlds and that sort of thing, and I've written sort of my own version of SL a couple of times, starting back in college in the 80s and things like that. I kept trying SL though. I had high hopes for it, but like every time I'd come in, like my client would crash within 5 minutes, and I'd be like, yeah, this place isn't ready for prime time yet. And I'd just uninstall the client and come back, and literally like about once a year I'd try SL again, and sometimes I'd come and I'd be attacked by griefers in a sandbox or something and be like, oh gosh, how am I supposed to get anything done? And it was kind of, and some of it was my own not really understanding what SL really is, Like you kind of have an idea when you first come to SL what it is, and then after you've been there for like a year, you have a much better grasp on, what's important and what's not, and things like that. And I remember one time I came in, and I was kind of frustrated because I'm a scripter, a developer sort of thing. My talents do not lie on the artistic side, and so I'd like come in and be working in a sandbox, and people would be like building stuff, and they'd be like, they have a really cool car or something, and be like, oh, cool. And they'd be like, yeah, here, I'll give you the script for this car for free, but if you want the actual model of the car, that's going to cost you 300 lindens or something. I was like, I was really disappointed. I was like, well, this is no fair. Like I'd like look, and there would be like all these free scripts. I'm like, well, this doesn't seem hardly fair for scripters. Like every time I wanted a script, I could just ask somebody and they give me the script for free. I'm like, how am I supposed as a scripter make money in SL? When I just go to a sandbox and ask around and be like, oh, you want a car script? Here. You want a boat script? Here's free. Here's a free teleporter script. And I'm like, everyone was charging for prims and not for the actual scripts. So one time I kind of left SL after 2 days being frustrated about that. So I guess it was, whatever my res date is, was finally the day I came back to SL. And like my client didn't crash in the first 30 minutes. And, it helped. I had a couple friends already in SL that kind of showed me the ropes. And, oh gosh, it was so frustrating. And I really had to force myself to stick with it. How do you open a box when you get here? Because there's like 12 different ways. And you don't know which way is the right way. And there's you can open a box if it's on the ground, but not if it's attached to your hand. All these complicated rules and permissions, and even to someone like me that's a very technical person, it was just like, ugh. There's no tutorial. There's no easing your way into SL and stuff. So it was kind of a really brutal learning curve, I thought, and still is to this day. I believe that I think that's one of the major failings of SL is that learning curve just keeps. People make a new account and they don't last more than an hour in World. So I'm not really seeing any questions so far, so I can go on babbling about my own So, I finally did get hold, and I thought, well, I'll just start scripting stuff for myself. I don't really care. I had a, real life full-time job, and so I was, playing SL just for my own fun. I'm like, I'll just script things for myself, and so that's kind of what I started doing. I scripted my own ears and tail, and my tail has like a HUD and a million features that I don't even ever use myself anymore these days. And I tackled making an AO. I wear my own AO I scripted myself. It's a single script. It'll support 1,000 animations. There's no note card you have to edit. And you never have to turn it on and off whenever you sit down in SL or stand up or do anything. It automatically turns itself on and off. But, I'm not a marketing person, and I'm not a salesperson, so I've never really tried to launch the AO as its own product. I just use it myself, so, okay, we're finally starting to get some questions coming in here. So I decided to create a breedable animal. I met Catherine doing machinima, and was kind of one of my own things. I've always kind of been interested. It's kind of but I won't say I'm just a hobbyist. I love to dabble in machinima. I won't say I'm like any kind of movie mogul or anything. But I met her, and I was talking with her, and I was like, like I mentioned earlier, I know, one of the good things about being a business person in SL is to know your own limitations. Okay, nobody can do everything, and so, like I said, I knew, I can script. I mean, I can build like technical things, but not aesthetically nice or pretty things. Right, and I know I'm terrible at sales and marketing, and so I was like, I would love to team up with you on something, and so I, spent many a night just kind of shooting around ideas, and we came up with a short list of projects. Like you said, we could pursue my AO. She had like an idea of doing like a Foursquare application inside Second Life, and something else, and a breedable. And I didn't really know much about breedables when we started, to be honest, except that all my friends seemed to love them. Like everyone I knew had either a horse or a bunny or something. And I'm like, well, I don't really know much about these breedables, to be honest, but these seem to be really popular, and if you can make one, and it seemed like kind of one of those long shot kind of projects. Like either you're going to make it big or you're not going to make it at all. And so we decided to go ahead and pursue a breedable, and then she was like, "Oh, I have a friend of mine, Chimeric, who was our original artist, and she got together and we kind of kicked around ideas. Of course, everyone's like, well, we can't do another cat. There's been like 20 cats. Dragons might be cute, but we hear rumors that there's some out there already." And we're like, I think we need to go for some fantasy animal that never has existed, I think, because then, there's, you don't have to worry about any of your competitors coming out with, oh my gosh, somebody else made another dog and we just launched a dog, So I was like, I'm actually, my partners being both women, but, I'm actually the one usually that pushes for things to be the cute and cuddly side of the world. And I was like, if we do this, I want some breedable that looks like it came off a Disney film, that it could be inside the Bambi movie, that would look at home there. And that was, and so that's sort of the evolution, and then of course they did the some sketches and prototypes and things like that, and and that's kind of how they came about, and sort of bantered around different ideas for a name and that sort of stuff. Okay, to get back to one of the specific questions, someone asked about being chased away from the limitations of LSL. And being a full-time developer my whole life, I've been an entrepreneur. This is probably like my fourth company I started. And other times I worked for other people, they've always been startups. And I've been a developer. Obviously, I did all kinds of desktop apps and server-side apps and web apps and stuff like that through my career. So me personally, no, I was never chased away from the limitations of LSL because I knew this was going to have to be a project that relied on outside servers. And actually, I think that was a good thing for us because it's sort of a barrier for our competition. You have to be able to, let's face it, to be able to compete in breedables and SL now, you have to have external servers and databases. You can't do I don't think you could do a quality breedable solely in world. So that didn't chase me away. That was encouraging for me because I knew it was something I could develop that perhaps other developers couldn't. So again, you need to play to your own strengths, and that is one of my strengths. Let's see, we got a question here about the concerns of new and old business people about security and intellectual rights. Yeah, that's always something like that. You want to be aware of those things. You need to learn what DMCAs are, and it helps to know copyright law, at least in a general sense. What you can and can't copyright, and a lot of people don't understand. You can't copyright ideas. You can only copyright actual implementations. So, anybody can make a breedable. You can't copyright that. The only thing you can copyright are the actual textures and actual scripts. If someone makes a clone or a knockoff of your product, you can't rely on copyright law to get around that. Now, if they literally use a copy bodying client and copy your products and upload them exact duplicates under their name, then yes, you can go after them with a DMCA. That sort of thing. Did I get all the questions so far? I'll kind of go back to the history, I guess, until I see new questions. So we worked probably in total secrecy for about 3 months, getting stuff kind of up and running, and then the next 3 months after that was when we started marketing and stuff like that, and that was initially just sort of done by teasers and promo images, and we made some SL have little books, like a lot of people have magazines and stuff where they have a little book object you wear as a HUD and you can flip through pages. So we made a couple of those books with kind of some teaser pictures and information like that, and started giving them out. We of course made a group in World, and of course you always want to rely on whatever friends and existing networks you have. So we had everyone knows Moxie, who was sort of kind of involved in the periphery of our project when we very first started, and it just has slowly kind of grown into more and more and more along with us as we've grown. And Moxie was a very famous high fashion clothing designer who was just a friend of ours, and a lot of the initial grassroots marketing was through, she had a very large group, and so we sort of started getting word out through that way in existing markets and things like that. Someone asked a question about business research available to help with pricing or setting sales expectation. Yeah, that I think you just have to do what you would do in a real life company if you don't actually have anybody on staff that's an expert in the field. You need to get one or have someone get up to speed. And so a lot of Catherine's time early on was spent, going out and looking up all the existing breedables out there and, calculating out, what does it cost for a week of food or a month of food for every other breedable out there, and what do they charge to, and we did, we decided with ours we weren't going to have like supplemental things you had to buy to like increase breeding frequency or some of the other add-ons, and so you just kind of examine your competition, search the marketplace, look around. Of course, for us, it's look around breedable markets to see what's out there. I mean, obviously, if you're in a clothing business, you want to go to popular clothing stores and malls and things like that, and just kind of figure out do most people sell their shirts for 100 lindens, 500 lindens, and kind of and then figure in and then some of that sort of you have to address kind of what you're going for. Some people, like, they want to launch a clothing design. They want to be the highest priced thing out there and kind of have the most, cachet and stuff, and plan on making, fewer sales with a higher margin, or, so kind of, take in your business account into that. What you plan on doing? Yeah, the trust among partners in a virtual business, that is a really interesting topic. Probably needs a whole, hour-long chat on its own. And that's, it's very interesting because you are dealing with people that you haven't ever met, and there's a certain element of, gosh, how much can I trust these people? It may be, they may be an alt of somebody else that is out to get me or something, and you just, you have to talk with them and just kind of get a feel with, feel them out, and, make sure everybody's kind of on the same level and playing field. And at some point, you just have to say, okay, I think I know as much as I'm going to know, and there is some leap of faith. I mean, you try to minimize that to some degree. And, I would say that's probably true in real-life businesses as well, although not as much. You don't know who, if you go working for, I don't know, if you go to work in a warehouse, maybe it's a front for somebody's Breaking Bad meth lab. I don't know. It's possible. So at some point, I took a leap of faith to work with my partners, and I remember, trying to explain to my real-life family, they're like, you're in business with two women you never met, you don't even know their real-life names. Like, yeah, I am. But I will say I did feel I had an additional level of security myself in the partnership, because I knew I controlled everything. I owned the website and the domains and the servers and all the scripts and everything, and I was like, well, worst comes to worst, I knew for myself, like, if my partners try to pull one over on me or something, I pretty much held all the cards as far as the technology was concerned. So I don't think my leap of faith I had to take was probably as big as my partners, since I had, control of the servers and all that kind of stuff. They couldn't really. Do we have any other questions? Do I have plans for another breedable? I don't have any specific plans for another breedable. It's one of these things, as long as the Meeroos are doing well, I plan on staying on them full time. And, we do have more of their story to tell that we try to roll out over time and that sort of stuff. And I love their story, and I want to keep telling it for as long as we can. So I don't think it makes sense. I did have like some kind of ideas going into the breedable project that I wanted to do, but they didn't necessarily like fit in with the Meeroos story and stuff. And so it would probably take another breedable to do those things and a different story. So I won't say never. But I don't have immediate plans. Someone asked about something going wrong with your business plans. Well, yeah, hindsight is always 20/20, and you never quite know what the world's going to throw at you. And Second Life is very much like that on steroids. You can wake up one day and find out, the entire game has changed because Linden Labs changed something out from underneath you, or something, the Petters thing came out and stuff like that. And we had actually discussed, I'm not sure if everybody in the audience knows the whole Auto Petter story. Basically, someone found a way to kind of like hack our scripts and build something that would pet your Meeroo for them, pet them for you. And so we had talked about actually auto petters before we had even launched. But, we had said that we weren't really interested in selling add-on things if we didn't have to. But the illegal third-party petter kind of forced our hand on the issue, and it was like we ended up, of course, having to change our scripts and fix some stuff on the servers to block the illegal ones. But then people were literally screaming at us that they wanted us to make an auto petter, and so we actually kind of flipped our decision on that and be like, oh, well, these people are, telling us they really want this, so I guess we'll go ahead and make it, even, and so like any business, you have to adapt, and when things, go wrong, or the environment changes or stuff like that, you kind of got to roll with the punches sometimes. Anything you might have done differently in your business marketing? I'm not sure. I really, like I mentioned when we started, I really think breedables are very much a hit or miss prospect, and it's a business where you're going for broke, because either your breedable catches on or it doesn't, and if it doesn't, you're just going to fall by the wayside pretty rapidly. We've seen a number of breedables try to come out over the last year, and they don't make it, and then they don't last. And I think there's, of course, there's an element into how well you build your product. There's an element in how well you market your product, and I think there's just an element of luck there as well. And since we did come out with one and we did make it, going back, I would not change anything, because I'm, I'll be honest, I'm afraid if we changed any one thing, we might not have made it. And even our nocturnals coming out, I was really worried that they wouldn't catch on. And that, that they might flop. It took us so long to get everything in place and get them working, and it was a even bigger undertaking to get the nocturnals out than it was to get the original ones out, because it was like all the work of the original ones, plus they had to work with the original ones, plus we had the concept of hybrids we came up with, and that was another level on top of that. And wow. And so, we're excited about them and the nocturnals and the hybrids, and there's still, so much more. That stuff, those just come out, and so there's more stuff that's going to, come out dealing with those as people breed them and discover more stuff. So, why do someone asked why I think I made it and others didn't? Like I said, I think it's kind of three parts to that. I think it's quality of your product. I tried my hardest to make sure that, the Meeroos worked as well as anything possibly can in SL, with all of its crazy, like today, Sims are going haywire, and we're, getting a flood of tickets in from what I've heard, that because, the restarts have been a disaster, and they're rolling stuff back, and oh my gosh. So, there's always going to be some stuff that goes haywire in SL, and it's just kind of, thankfully most people in SL just understand that fact, There's only so much you can do when the platform you're working on is like quicksand. But to get back to that question, I think it's equal parts, the quality of your product and how well it's built, how good your textures are, how well the sculpts are, how smoothly they're animated, how well they're scripted, do they recover from errors gracefully, that sort of thing. Of course, part of it's your sales and marketing, and part of it's just luck or, timing. I think we were fortunate that we came out at a time that other breedables that had been established had been out for a long time, hadn't had any major new content updates, and I think we hit a magic window, just more, again, out of luck, when we decided to, time the product and, managed to make it through our beta testing, and that sort of thing, and came out before, a bunch of other breedables came out soon after us that had they come out before us, who knows, perhaps they would have taken off and we wouldn't have. Yeah, customer service, that is an excellent point, and I've done Masquerade, Ball, our head of our customer service, great disservice by not touching on that. And yeah, because like I said, things do go wrong. You have to have, we have a whole system in place and a great team of CSRs all around the world to try to cover every time zone. So there's always at least one CSR on working tickets 24/7, 365, that is sort of one aspect of the business I was kind of ignorant about, I guess, the fact that we would have to be a multilingual company and, provide note cards in lots of different languages, try to provide customer service in lots of languages. And again, Masquerade was a great help to me on all fronts there. Basically, we've sort of met lots of players from all around the world, and many of them were happy to help us out and translate stuff for us, blog posts, forum posts, note cards, everything. So someone asked me a question about SL mangling the Meeroos on RC servers. Yes, it happens all the time where people, lose their Meeroo and for whatever reason, because they lost them because of their SIM crashed, it rolled back, it didn't res when they tried to pull it out of inventory. SL's inventory management is horrible. For no copy items, you would think they would have some kind of transaction-based system where if it didn't res out in world, that it wouldn't get removed from your inventory, or vice versa. But no, they don't, and it's horrible. And there is several parts in the scripting. I put stuff in there specifically to account for that, or there's also another problem where it unintentionally makes duplications of your objects that are supposed to be no copy. So one of the ways the Meeroo were built was that to make it very easy for our CSRs to quickly restore lost pets to people. Let me read for a second. So someone asked about the product being mature. Well, what we decided to do was, release our nocturnals that were sort of like a whole new breedable, but not kind of thing. And literally, nocturnals and diurnals, there were meant to be night and day differences between our first chapter and second chapter. And it was why we came out with chapter 1 and hinted at a chapter 2. That was our long-term strategy to try to keep the product fresh in people's eyes. And then the idea with hybrids is to tie them too, so tie the two together. So you don't want to come out with like a whole new breedable that basically totally guts your existing market, and you don't want everybody to just stop with the old ones and then just start buying new ones. So we tried to use the hybrid idea to give people different things if they do keep both kinds of Meeroo together and breed them together, and give the ideas to give them new things they wouldn't get from either one individually. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Somebody asked if there's anything I'd like to improve or add something new in the SL business. Do you want to clarify that question a little more? Like in my own SL business, or something new I think should be added to SL itself for all businesses? Somebody asked about taking Meeroos to other worlds. I looked at in-worlds quite a while ago, and they didn't quite have enough of the scripting language implemented there, because basically I think pretty much the Meeroos use like every single bit of SL, well, except for physics, because I've always felt physics was just too laggy in SL. So, but it uses offsite servers and animations, and every time they come out with some new function that might reduce lag or make things easier, I tend to go back and rework the scripts to take advantage of that sort of stuff. And there would be a huge kind of porting in that. Yeah, pathfinding I think kind of falls in with physics. I think it's too laggy right now to rely, and it's also still kind of too much. Pathfinding is still too much in flux right now. It's so you don't want to build your product to rely on something that's kind of half-baked, or that Linden Labs might pull out from underneath you at any time yet, and I don't think pathfinding is quite there yet. And like I said, the problem with pathfinding I see is it adds a minimum 15 prim count, anything with pathfinding right now. So one of the things about a breedable is you want it to be as low prim as possible, or people just aren't going to have as many out. So if I did anything with that, I think it would be along with like sort of like with me pets, and be like only the me pets can activate the pathfinding code, that sort of thing. Mesh breedables, I would love to work on a mesh breedable, but again, I don't think mesh is there where it needs to be yet. There's no way to animate it to speak of, that you can't do as well or better with sculpts right now. You can change out sculpt UUIDs to change a sculpt, which the Meeroos use in quite a few places. And you can't do that with mesh. They decided that was too laggy to do, so they disabled that for mesh, unfortunately. If they come up with like some kind of boning system for mesh, that would be awesome. And I would be all about doing a mesh breedable or upgrading Meeroos to be mesh or whatever that would take, but I don't think SL's there yet. What's next for me? Like I said, I'm still full steam ahead on the Meeroos journey. We've got lots of stuff planned still for Chapter 2 that will be coming out. An exit strategy planned ahead. Well, I think that's one of those things like we just plan on adapting. As long as the Meeroos are still doing well, we don't have any plan to exit. And we'll just, start getting ready for Chapter 3. I mean, I love working on this project. It let me, quit my real-life full-time job and focus on this exclusively. So, that's sort of, I think, the American dream for everybody is to have your own business you can do full-time and work on with your own, set your own hours and work when it's convenient for you and that sort of thing. Although, of course, like usually happens in small businesses, you probably end up working more hours than you did at a 9-to-5 job, but you're generally enjoying it more, and it's more rewarding, I should say, to have your own visions coming to life, and and it's also that something like the Meeroos I think is great because it's the kind of product you can tell touches people's lives. It's not like you're not just selling a toothbrush or something. People really get attached to these little critters, and that's extra rewarding to me. Okay, if I missed any questions here. I'll say anybody who heard about this talk from the Meeroos side of the world, and if you weren't familiar with Builders Brewery, make sure you join their group while they're here. If you have any interest in content creation at all, whether it's clothing or scripting or anything, because these guys are an awesome resource for everything. They're not there's lots of places you can go that's just if you want to make mesh, join this group. And one of the things I've always loved about Builders Brewery is that it's kind of like they cover it all. You can come and take all their classes are free, right? I've never had to pay for a class that I've showed up to so far, and and I've come and taken classes on Photoshop and Blender and all sorts of things like that. I kind of cut my own mesh teeth. I'm not like a great modeler. I do love to dabble in modeling, but my, you're not going to see me making mesh things for the Meeroos because I don't have that skill level. But I do enjoy it, and I kind of consider it as a hobby of mine. So. Mm-hmm. Did I get all the questions? Feel free to ask your question in local again if you asked it earlier and it scrolled by and I missed it. It's kind of hard to babble on about what you're doing and keep track of local and at the same time. So. Most important advice I'd say is just get out there and do it, and make your first thing. And it may not be perfect. That's fine. Give it out to your friends, and solicit feedback from them. And tell them, be honest with me. Don't, yes, I know you're my best friend, but don't tell me it's awesome if there's really, something I should fix about it, or make an idea to be better. Take advice from other people whenever you can. And like I said, especially if you know that, if you know what your strengths are and where your weaknesses are, listen to other people in the areas where you're the weakest. If you're not like great in texturing and someone that is tells you, you should really think about making that red instead of blue or something, you should probably listen to them. But on the other hand, don't be afraid to stand your ground. If you're the expert on scripting and somebody else is like, I don't think that should bring up a menu there or something, and you feel that is the right thing to do, and then stand up for what you think is right too. So, yep, having fun's doing it. Always surround yourself with positive people whenever possible. And especially, I think it's easier when you're first starting out because you don't have pressure. You don't have necessarily you don't have a brand name to uphold or anything. And I don't know. Like I said, I've always been like an entrepreneur. I've loved starting my own companies, and that I love that building things up from nothing and trying to get your foot in the door and make a name for yourself. That's always much more exciting and appealing to me. I don't not necessarily everybody's wired that way, but that's how I am. But to me, that's easier because you have freedom to experiment. You can release something if it flops or whatever. It's okay. Nobody knows who you are if you're still working in obscurity, and you can come out with something bigger and better next time. It's harder for me, now, Meeroos are established. It's, if I've got some huge bug or some, big screw up or something, I'll be mortified now because everybody's going to know. And, so. So definitely, like I mentioned earlier, I believe working on a team of experts is the way to go. If you're starting a new business, don't try to do it all by yourself. I don't think any person on the planet has that skill set. So surround yourself with supporting friends, family, whatever you can take advantage of, and solicit advice from people you trust and are experts on other things that you're not. Of course, yes, I follow all the SL developments I can and try to keep abreast of everything, and you know, sneak into the user group meetings whenever you can and that sort of thing. I've given all kinds of feedback to Linden Labs whenever I could. Not that they've ever used a word of it, I don't think, but I've given it and still continue to give it on things. I tell them things I think they should do. But I'll be honest, I don't have, I might be one of the top content creators in SL, but I don't have any more or less access to the people at Linden Labs than anybody else does. I don't have any special Lindens on my friends list to speak of, and they don't listen to me at user group meetings any more or less than they do to anybody else. And so I think whatever I say to them goes in one ear and out the other, just like it probably does for you, so don't feel discouraged. I'm just another guy in SL to Linden Labs. Nope. I think, early on there was some people that kind of, started with SL early on and kind of grew with them and had lots of kind of, ins and new people on staff. I did actually work with Philip at his other project for a while, Love Machine, if any of you have heard that. And even though I worked with Philip there on that project, I still don't get any special consideration inside SL itself. So don't think you have to get any kind of special treatment to make it big in SL. They did tell me at some point in time, I think people remember when we exploded in popularity in the beginning, we attracted all kinds of attention from griefers and people coming to try to put invisible prims over our vendors and stuff like that to scam us, scam our players, whatever they could get away with. And I did have the Lindens contact me about that, and they told me I had an enterprise. They were upgrading me to an enterprise account. But you know what? I haven't been able to tell any difference whatsoever of what that means. My ARs go unanswered forever, just as long as everybody else does as I think. And if they think they're giving me any kind of special treatment, they don't even know. Because I was having to file ARs against griefers and stuff like that, and supposedly these tickets would be handled faster if they came in from my account. But like I said, I've never, I've AR'd people since then for various things, and as far as I could tell, no action was ever taken anyways, So I'm like, if this upgrade to my account was supposed to be of any benefit, I've never noticed it. Yeah, I don't know any big sim owners or land barons or anything like that, so I don't know if they get any kind of special treatment or not. Someone asked a question. We still got 3 minutes left. Ask a question about advice for the businesses. Is it better be in world or in the marketplace? I think your best bet is to be both. I think you have certain shoppers that love in-world shopping. Certain people love marketplace shopping. One of the nice things about marketplace shopping is you do get the ability to gift things for free. Like you don't have to have any special kind of vendor or something to support gifting. So I do think it is advantageous to put stuff on the marketplace to get gifting, if nothing else. But so I would say, if at all possible, it'd be in both places. Um, favorite services. A lot of stuff I chose to roll my own on, like vendors and stuff like that. Um, that is, I guess it's the mindset of a lot of scripters we have. We love to use our own products and stuff like that, so you know how it all works. We have recently added a subscribe-o-matic because group management in SL has just always been horrific, and as far as I can tell, will always be horrific. And I don't think they have any real incentive to fix that, so we finally bit the bullet, and we're just like, okay, well let's try the subscribe-o-matic thing and see how that works for us. The groups just break down after they reach a certain critical mass and size, and they are. There is some work been done on that, and they're working on that right now to try to improve the group management so they don't totally tank after 5,000 members or whatever kind of the upper limit is on them right now for realistically working. People just, if you've got a group with any significant size, you send a notice out, half the people just don't get them. Their IMs were capped. It's just like, totally unreliable. You're just like, it feels like you're just throwing a message in a 1,000 bottles and throwing them out in the open and pray they make it across to the other continent and people open them. So that's the end of our time. I don't know if they're going to boot me off the sim here or whatnot. I appreciate Builders Brewery having me here. And, they asked me before if I'd consider doing more of these talks or possibly on, talks, maybe specifically on scripting or things like that. So let me know, let them know if you liked listening to me or if you just wanted to strangle me for the last hour. Let's hear some feedback, and maybe I'll come back and talk again or talk about specific things. I didn't get very many technical questions this time about how things are built. I figured I might get more of those.
They're just in awe of you, see. Thank you, Tiger. Really, thank you. It's great to hear back from one of the greats in SL, to hear your opinion on things, where things are with you. This time of day, we probably have less technical questions and more just we just want to stand back and listen to you and take you in because you have so much to tell us. But if we could ever have you back to talk about some of those technical things, I could get you a full class real fast. So thank you so much for coming, and thank you everybody for the great questions and for coming.